Hi, this is Krive. I'm just doing a short introduction and then we dive right into the video. I'm a Preservation Evoker main since the class came out in Dragonflight, and I'm really in love with the class. Have been playing it ever since, and I push high keys on Preservation Evoker in every season. This video is an overview of how I play this Halls 18 key. That is not about class mechanics. We don't talk about basic healing rotations. If you want to learn more about that, check out my Discord, which is linked down below. And you can also check out my stream. I stream on Twitch almost every day, which is also linked down below. Let's dive right into the key. So here to start, we're doing a pull on the left side, which is a standard pull that most groups do in high keys. We go right onto the left short. I'm trying to already have echoes on my party with my TA here to start, just so I get my TA back off cooldown and can use it again. So that's why I use TA here to start. What I'm trying to do here is set up reversions on targets that need more healing because of the grace period talent. And then I start with a fire breath once the pull is stacked. And the first thrash, I'm always healing with tipped scales, and I charge up my stasis at the same time. And here I'm just spamming Living Flame onto the group on targets that need healing. I keep up my reversions, and I am looking for stops here. For example, here I'm doing a knock up. Usually you can't dispel the tank here, since there are two obliterators. By the way, the second one is Zephyr. I heal the second thrash with a Zephyr. Usually you can't dispel the tank here, so just watch the tank's HP. You need to kind of insta-dispel the curses, so you have enough time to dispel the first and the second curse. Or not curse, but like the magic you have on your group. It used to be curses, that's why I said it, the Shadowlands. This debuff was a curse. The third thrash, I will always heal with Emerald Communion or Rewind. And here I greeted my healing spells. I should have just used Emerald Communion and then rewinded, but as far as I know, I think we only had one more death, so we got them out of the way here right at the start. Here you can right away knock down the Guardians. This way they come. And now we have a pull that seems easy. It's a bit small, no short, but we still have to care for lots of shoots. And the best way we can deal with that is just by setting up a Fire Breath on the group here, which will heal the group with Lifegiver's Flame. That's why I'm only using a rank 1 or 2 Fire Breath here. You see the HOTS or the dots, they keep extending. And they're healing the group by quite a lot. If you check the healing breakdown, it's usually rank 2 or 3. And then I'm just hotting up the party basically, because you can't react to every shoot. So you want to let your HOTS take the brunt of that. Heal the person up while you're healing maybe another person. And what you should focus on here in this poll is healing, spot healing, of course, but also to kill the important targets, which are the Houndmasters. The caster can be kicked, but the Houndmaster shoots are really annoying and they can be quite dangerous, especially for cloth wearers. So if you're playing with a party and you have a mage or a priest or a warlock, anyone that wears cloth, you need to be really careful. You should put 2 reversions on that person for sure, just to keep them, just to make them ready to receive even more healing from you because of your grace period talent, and to already have like HOTS running on them. Then we see like my group always plays this with like 1 recovery pull after every, or like at least 1 after every Halkias. So here I have all my healing cooldowns back, except for Rewind, and the first thrash we always heal with Tip the Scales. And we're charging up our stasis here. And for the second one, we have still our tier set running, because we just tipped the scales on the first one. So we're still strong here, but we're also going to release our stasis. So charging up a Spirit Bloom here, and then I'm looking to release my stasis here at the end when I see the group is dropping. And as you see, I always keep up my reversions. You see everybody has double reversion except Boben, but he's a DK, so he's very strong. So the next one, my idea to heal this next one is that I'm going to use my Renewing Blaze, which heals myself, for the damage I take. But if I also life bind myself to the party, it's going to heal myself and then take that healing that I get and also redistribute it to the party. And on top, I'm going to use my Emerald Communion. And because this is so much healing, I have healing from my Renewing Blaze and from Emerald Communion, I'm very confident that I'm going to top the group because of this. And Thrash lasts about 8 seconds. So if I use it at the start, my Emerald Communion will only last 4 seconds. So there will be 4 seconds at the end where I have no healing. That's why I will drop the group first. So you will see I will let the group drop a bit. And then I'm going to wait and start Emerald Communioning towards the middle of the Thrash. So it lasts until then. So there was a conscious decision to first let 2 ticks go through. And then I started healing after that. So that my healing carries until the end. And that's it. If you ever get a 4th Thrash, which this would have been the 4th Thrash that's coming here, you can tip the scales again because you get tip the scales back. And then you would just spam Living Flames on the group if that ever happens. But normally you get 3 Thrashes. So here in this poll, again, I'm focusing the Houndmaster. He's the most annoying mob. The Obliterator can be kicked. Houndmaster shoots. And again, doing a rank 1 Fire Breath always hit the start. Just to get my dots rolling and extending themselves. And then, as you see, just keep up your reversions. When someone drops, you can Dream Breath or use your Life Spark procs for spot healing, but in this case, it's not necessary. This is an easy pull if you're coordinated. We're just CCing the collectors and kicking the Obliterator. And we're like in Discord right now, and we're talking about who's stocking up next. For example, we can maybe have a listen. Never mind. I think it's already dead. But before we were talking about like Roosh uses his knock up next, then I will tail swipe next, and so on. So we're just coordinating ourselves here. 4 stops on the collectors. They don't recast. Some mobs do recast if you knock them up or CC them. Some others don't. The collectors are mobs that don't recast. So you should not kick them. You should always CC them in some way. That's also good on the Hulkcast, because on every Hulkcast there's at least 1 collector. On the one here on the right that we just played, there are 2. So that's the most dangerous one, at least if we're looking at collectors. So you should not kick them and use your tail swipe, your wing buffet, even your deep breath to stop the collector's casts. The way the collector's casts work, by the way, is that they start channeling, and then after 2 seconds, they start doing damage. So you have 2 seconds to react, to knock them up, to stun them in some way. It's plenty of time. Then again, in these pulls, I think you notice a pattern. I'm always using a Fire Breath just to get my Fire Breath dot rolling, which is going to heal the group, which is going to heal the tank. And then I'm setting up reversions on the group to counteract the Houndmaster shoots. And then, apart from that, I'm just looking at tank healing, just keeping him alive. I'm looking at his defensives. You see on the left, I'm tracking all the defensives that he has. And right now I see he has his Guardian and he has his Bubble. So I know he's safe, unless he's calling for my TD. But if I was in a pack, for example, I would know, okay, my tank is safe right now. He has defensives. I don't need to like put a TD on him, because I know he has stuff to press on his own. So here we get the first Thrash. Again, we're using our tipped scales with Spirit Bloom and just using some Living Flames here. It's always the same pattern. On the first Thrash, I'm always pressing my own defensives as well. The way you can play these Hulkias with your own defensives is that you press your scales on the first one. The second one, you Zephyr. So you have some DR there. Here I'm Zephyring. And then charging Spirit Bloom and releasing my stasis here. And then the third Thrash, you can use your Renewing Blaze. And then on the fourth one, if you ever get one, you can use your scales. So you have a defensive for every single one of them. So this one, I'm going Renewing Blaze. And then Emerald Communion. And at the end, I'm going to rewind. And the reason I do it differently this time is because we have a Houndmaster active right now who's randomly shooting the party, and it's doing quite a lot of damage. You see one shot on Azure is bringing him to half his HP. That's quite dangerous. So remember how I told you that on the last Halkia shard, I was dropping the group 2 ticks of the Thrash, and then I was using Emerald Communion? That's because there was nothing going on there. That's why I can do that. In this case, there was something going on, so I was using Emerald Communion right from the start, and then once it's over, I rewind it. And the reason why I did it in this order is because if I rewind right after the first tick, it's not going to rewind too much damage. But if I rewind after we already took quite a bit of damage from the shard thrashing, it's going to rewind all the damage we took in the last 5 seconds and heal more. So that's why I was using Emerald Communion first, and then my rewind right after that. So here we're going into the first boss. Your target right here should be the Hellmaster again. He's the most annoying. He can't be kicked. He's going to shoot random people. And then we're going to go into the Hakias. And the reason we do this is for funnel, but also because it's just an easy boss that allows us to pull mobs onto him without many struggles. On this boss, the way you kind of want to heal it is that you use your Spirit Bloom every time it's available. It's an easy top for the group. Make sure you have 4 stacks of temporal compression. In my UI, you can see I'm tracking them in the middle. It's the small number there in the middle. Right now it's 3, now it's 4. And then during this AoE or these beams, you can always set up a TA and then reversion the party. Here I healed the first AoE with my Spirit Bloom. Second one, I'm just healing here with a Lifebind combo, but that doesn't really matter. You should always use Spirit Bloom on cooldown, and then when you have Tip the Scales active and you get your tier set, you can just pretty much spam Living Flame either on the party if you're cautious, or I'm sometimes just DPSing the boss, because then 2 Living Flames go into the party. Like here, you will see I'm just like DPSing the boss, and that's gonna top the party. Then here during the beams, always send out a TA, so it goes on cooldown. Like right here, you see it. And then when the beam's over, you can use it, for example, with Dream Breath or with just like reversion. And here I'm charging up my stasis. Always use your stasis and your Tip the Scales on cooldown here. I get Tip the Scales back. So here for this one, I'm just fire breathing using the Life Giver's Flame Heal here. Here I have my Spirit Bloom back, so I'm just upping the party with my... Wait, why am I not... Okay, I guess I need to move here, so that's why I used my Emerald Communion, because I had to move at the same time and I can't cast Spirit Bloom while moving. But yeah, that's the way you can play this boss. And here again, I should use my TA just to get it on cooldown, so we have one more use of it during the phase. Here the second one, Spirit Bloom. And if we get a third one, I could either Dream Breath, or here in this case, I'm just using my Renewing Blaze and then doing a Lifebind combo. And because I get healed for the damage that I took, I'm also healing the party through the Lifebind. And then I just use the Tip the Scales here as well, just on cooldown, and healing that way. I'm keeping my hover charges usually for the intermission, so I can freely DPS here. DPS is also important. Doing decent DPS here. Okay, and now with the next pull, which is quite a dangerous pull, but if you approach it in a good way, it actually becomes quite manageable. The hard thing here are these ankle biters, and there's also a patrol of ankle biters. And the best way to play it, in my opinion, is that you wait for the patrol to come in, and then you roar with your oppressing roar, so your stun gets longer. So here I'm going to oppressing roar, and then I'm going to deep breath. And what that does is that it stuns them for 5 seconds, and I'm just trusting my team to kill the ankle biters in those 5 seconds, or like at least lower them to a decent amount. You can use your cauterizing flame here to dispel a target that has bleeds, I would start dispelling from 4 stacks onward. 3 is still manageable, 4 is quite high. And if someone has 5 stacks, then you can give him TD or something. That's quite hard. One thing to do here as well, if you have Renewing Blaze active or like available and you're defensive, just press it. Like when you play this pull and there's Ankle Biters still alive and you already did your stun and they're still not dying, press your Renewing Blaze, press your defensive. You could even do it at the start of the pull just to be a bit safer here. Because if we go back here to start the pull where the ankle bite is coming in, right now I have an ankle bite and I didn't even stun yet, and my party still has already has like 3 stacks. So good thing that Frush already presses defensive here. It's always nice to press your defensives at the start of the pull, and then we start CCing, or like I start CCing them. I could have even knocked them up, so that was one thing I did here at the end. A bit later, I knocked them up. You can see my knock up is here. That's here. It's on cooldown. So I stunned them first, and then I knocked them up. That's a decent way to play this pull, and you can just send all your healing cooldowns. You don't need them on the next pull. Next pull is quite tame in comparison. Just send for sure your tip the scales, your stasis, and if you have to, send your rewind. If you notice like the party is full of bleeds, just send all your stuff here. And have a look on the tank. This pull is quite dangerous for the tank. It's triple reavers, and what the reavers do is they use Mortal Strike. You can see it here, and that puts a debuff on the tank, which reduces the healing. So right now, tanks that rely on healing themselves, like a Blood Decay or even a Monk, I mean any tank is gonna heal themselves, but they won't be able to top themselves as easily as before. So you need to really look out to for their health bars. The best combos to top them here are Echo Reversion or Echo into Spirit Bloom, just like 1 charge of Spirit Bloom on the tank. And then you go. And then this pull is a lot easier. Just need to care because you have double Obliterator, which means double magic debuffs on the group. If you can't spell it, try to TD the person or call for their defensives. And again, here we have like 1 Reaver. So again, look at your tank. He's gonna be the one that takes the most damage here. I'm keeping up my Fire Breath again. It's really good for tank healing. The Life Giver's Flame is doing some real work here. And then I'm just keeping double reversion on him because it's also amplifying the Life Giver's Flame healing. It's amplifying my other healing on him. And I'm just keeping track of Mortal Strikes because that's the thing that's going to kill him. So whenever you see Mortal Strike is about to come up, I'm not tracking it here, but I should. I'm gonna get the big wigs timers. I should set them up soon. You should try to top your tank right before and then right after. So what we're doing here is we're gonna take the smallies on the left here and these 2 enemies into the boss. It's really good funnel if you have funnel classes. And then that's why we just waited here for the Stoneborn to turn into stone. And now we're going into this boss with some decent funnel. One thing to note here on when the ads die is when you should press defensives. You always have your TD for people who get the bleed, but you should press your defensives when the ads die. That's the most dangerous part. One thing that's also important here is that you don't press your stasis because your stasis won't be needed until like 45 seconds, 1 minute into the pull. So if you charge it up here, there will be no reason for it to be released later. So don't charge up your stasis here. What I would suggest is that you tip the scales of Spirit Bloom here to start when the ads die to top the group. Use your defensives so you survive the ads dying. And then one trick that you can do is that you can rescue a person out of this. Here, I'm getting hit here, but you can also... I should have stood a bit closer, which is my bad here. Just using Emerald Communion here to top myself and to counteract the bleed. But what you can do is you can rescue a person out of the sun. You need to do it once the cast is finished and the boss is already jumping and in the air, and then you can rescue and he won't follow the person and you can basically avoid that thing. So here I'm gonna probably try to rescue Frush. Nope, not doing it. But I TD'd him. Always, like I told you, tell people to use defensives when the ads die, and TD people on the bleed. Here, I'm just tip the scaling again. Holy shit, that was a lot of damage. And now it's on me. Going in. One trick that you can do as well is that you can deep refs out of it. It's a bit advanced, but when you're in the air, you can't be stunned with your deep breath. So you can time a deep breath to avoid getting stunned, and then you can just hover out at the end. So what I could have done here was to see that I have the debuff and then deep breath almost instantly, and then I could not get stunned and just hover out. And here I'm probably rescuing Frush. I'm waiting for the cast to be finished. Let's go back here just to show what the correct timing is. You see at the top here, we have the stone shattering. And here, I'm waiting for the cast to finish. And I'm already ready. I have like my rescue placed on Frush. I have my ground target already placed. And I'm just waiting for the cast to finish. And it's finished. He's jumping. And now I'm rescuing him. And he doesn't get the dot. So that's one smart way to play this boss. One thing you should also look out for is that you bait the bleeds better. I think I'm playing this wrong here. I should not be standing here because I'm baiting the puddles in a bad spot. Ideally, I should be standing to the side here of the room and play from there, so we don't have all these puddles in the middle. Here again, TD, because he's using his defensives on the AoE. But he gets a TD from me right here. And then we're just killing this boss now. See, it's on me. I'm probably deep breathing here. Watch me, deep breath, and then you walk back in and you hit your tank with the bleed. No, just kidding. But there you go. That's how you can also skip it. So ideally, if you play it correctly, I think he's gonna stun you at like 2 seconds left of the cast. So here I'm like activating my deep breath like right before it starts. I deep breath like the shortest amount possible, which is like to here. And then you would ideally just walk on top of them. And I blinked onto my tank. I should have just blinked onto them. But it's not too bad since he's a tank, he can take it. But this way you can also avoid the bleed. And that's quite nice. I think Evoker is one of the best healers here for this boss because of this. He can avoid the stun himself and he can help others avoid the bleed too with the rescue. And here we're just killing the boss. So for this next pull, positioning is actually quite important. Because you have these eviscerator mobs. You see at the top, at the front here, there's 2 mobs called eviscerator. And what they do is they throw glaives at your party and it's bouncing. So we're actually stacking here, which is pretty bad. Because that means the glaives are bouncing. And you have 2 random damages from the Hellmasters. So one thing I would do here is focus the Reaver, since that's dangerous for the tank, but also the Hellmasters somehow. Like if you should, those are the 3 mobs that are important to focus. And then split your group up so they're not, or like make sure that you're not standing close to someone else. And then always have like HOTS rolling. So if we go back, if you look at my healing strategy for this pull, I'm starting this pull, I'm putting up reversions, and then I'm looking to also use Dream Breath. And I'm using a rank 1 Fire Breath just to have my dots rolling on the enemies, which are also going to heal the party. So if we look at my party, it's in a perfect state. They have double reversion. The yellow bar is the echoed reversion. The blue bar is the normal reversion. You can see my Dream Breath here. You can see the enemies have my Fire Breath on them. So I'm getting healing, like hot type of healing from 3 sources. My fire breath, my reversions, my dream breath. And whenever someone drops here or gets a small amount of damage, they get healed back, right? They get healed right back. You see, like, people get shot, but they're being topped very quickly. And when I see I have like a small gap in my healing, I was using my Emerald Communion here. Because you really can get one shot here pretty quickly. So here I see like 2 shoots on Frush. That's why I was using Emerald Communion here, because I saw if he gets shot twice, that's a very dangerous situation. Yeah, I should technically refresh my Dream Breath, but since the Houndmasters are dead, there's only Eviscerator damage, and the Eviscerators are almost dead, and there's like no risk of one-shots, so I'm just opting to heal more aggressively with like just Fire Breath and some targeted heals. Alright, now we're going into the next boss. We just pulled the whole pack here onto this boss. And the start can be quite dangerous here, because you have the Obliterator, who's putting up magic debuffs, and you also have the boss, who puts 2 magic debuffs onto the group. What I would do is that you TD the person that has the Obliterator debuff, since the Obliterator debuff only does damage at the end. If we go back, this was probably quite a lot, so let's start from the beginning again here. So again, we have this boss who's putting 2 debuffs. We have the Obliterator who's going to put a debuff, but the Obliterator debuff only does damage at the end. So what you can do is that you just TD the person who gets it, so he survives the hit, because when the Obliterator buffs ends, it just explodes, does a bit of damage. So just TD that person at the end when you see the debuff run out, and you dispel one of the people who get the boss debuff, because the boss debuff hurts the most. So here we get debuffs now. And I have the Obliterator debuff on myself, plus the boss debuff. That's why I'm dispelling myself. We got quite lucky. I can use my dispel to dispel both. And then with Warpen, who is a DK, he can live it. He is very fine. And then this boss is actually quite easy if you do good positioning. What you should do is always be near a like an anima, lantern, whatever you would call these devices. Not on top of them, because you spawn these circles, you see? The circles this boss is spawning. You spawn them on your position. So when you're stacking on top of the lantern, it's quite bad if someone else wants to like bait in a ghost or like a soul or whatever this boss ad is. And they can't go there because you baited a circle there. So always just be near the lanterns, not on top of them. And then when you see the fix that is on you, you can move behind them and bait them in. And now this boss can actually be quite hard if you don't do this boss in an intelligent way. You should track the defensives of your group. So right here, I'm seeing I've got defensives. I have all my defensives, especially Renewing Blaze, which is really important since I can basically ignore myself if I have a Renewing Blaze. I just get the debuff, I activate Renewing Blaze, and then I'm healing back all the damage that the dot does. And then I'm fine. But otherwise, if you look at your party, you should just always dispel whoever has no defensives and leave it on the person who has defensives. So here I'm seeing my DK has all defensives, and Frush has, for example, only 1 defensive ready, which is the Bulwark Totem. Or like whatever, I think it's called Bulwark Totem. So here I would probably dispel Frush. But Frush had Bleed Dispel, or like his dwarf racial, so I was just calling for him to use that. I dispelled him, he dwarfed. But for the next one, for example, I would dispel myself, probably. I should have dispelled myself, since DKs have a talent which reduces the duration of debuffs. So in this case, it would have probably been intelligent to dispel myself and just let my DK press his own defensive, and then his debuff would last only a short while anyway, because of his talent that reduces the debuff duration. So for the next one, if Azor gets it, I will call a dwarf on Azor and dispel the other person, and that's exactly what we're doing. He's got a dwarf. And then for the run after, we can see again how the defensive situation is looking. One thing DKs can do is that they can pre-aim S. So if you have a DK in your team, that's what happened right now, is that you can tell them to activate their aim S spell before the debuffs are coming out. And then if the debuff is on them, they don't get it. So here my DK, he activated aim S. And then the boss put the debuffs on the group, but because he had aim S running, he couldn't receive the debuff. So only one debuff was on me, and I just dispel myself and have an easy time. And do you see how little damage my group takes because we're like baiting near the lanterns? That's why it's so important to do this. Otherwise, you will have to heal quite a lot. So here I'm dispelling Azor. I see Farouche has this Astral Shift, 40% DR, quite strong. We're near the lantern. We get, how many ticks do we get? 1, 2, 3, and then it's already over. So it's quite easy to heal this boss if everybody in the group is baiting. Here I actually do the right thing. I leave the dot on my DK and look how quickly the dot is expiring. It's already over. It's pretty strong. And then here for this next area, ideally you move behind the mini boss because the ads that spawn here, they will melee players, and standing here will be bad because then that means you have the ads here on you on this side, and no one's gonna attack them there. But if I blink through, or like if I'm actually standing on the other side from the start, all the ads that fixate, they will have to run through the mini boss, and everybody's DPSing, AoEing on the mini boss, so they will die there. That's why I blinked over there. I'm just putting up my reversions. You see, now we get the display of power, and I already have my reversions on the group. I have my double dream breath on the group. It sounds so natural to me, but let's actually go back and see how I did that. So I'm just putting echoes here, echoes on the party. Usually I would use a TA. And then when the dot comes out, I'm just reversioning here. And then I'm using my TA for Dream Breath. And now I'm ready for the AoE. Or for the dot. I have my tip scales. And the party is very safe. And then we just blast the maneuvers. And then again, we get second set of dots. You see, I already have my TA. I'm using a Lifebind combo here, releasing my stasis that I have from earlier. And then I can even rewind here if I feel like I need to, but I'm using Fire Breath just to top the group here, because Fire Breath is also a healing spell if you use it offensively in that way, or I guess defensively. And you see, I just keep HOTS rolling because there's like small melees happening all the time. You can do a knock up here as well to help. And here I was greeting a bit of damage, that's why I'm a bit behind, but tip the scales and we're safe again. But ideally, if you want to play like super safe, you can have like double Dream Breath, double reversion on the party. And the way you would do that is that if you go into this room or whatever this is happening, let's say you enter the room here. Wait, let's go back to the spot. You want to use your TA. I'm using it here. I was hoping to hit people, but I only hit myself. And then you would just have the echoes on the party. Here's no damage happening. So you just leave the echoes on the party from your TA. And that's the reason also why I had to manually echo up here, because I didn't hit the people with my TA. And then when the boss is about to apply his debuff, then you use your next TA that you will get back. So the situation is you have echoes on the party, you use reversion, and your next TA is back because you used your TA 15 seconds ago. And then you just use the next TA and Dream Breath. And that way you have double Dream Breath, double reversion on the party, and everybody's chilling. So that's the reason why I manually echoed here. And then you just do that for all the other ones. Here I was just reading, that's why it looked a bit unsafe. But I was sitting on rewind if I had the fear that my party was in actual danger, I would have just rewinded there. But I knew we were fine. So here for the last boss, I think it's quite an easy boss. There are some tricks you can do. Not yourself. I mean, you can do them yourself, but your tank mostly can do them, and they make the intermissions way easier. I think healing-wise, this boss is quite easy. Just use your most efficient heals to top the party back up, which is, in this case, like reversions and dream breath. They take, with efficient, I mean that they take a small amount of globals, so a small amount of time, but they heal a lot. So dream breath, for example, takes like 1 global, and it's healing a huge amount of healing. And there's like no time pressure to top the party quickly. I think these statues, they come like every 10 seconds. You have like so much time to actually top the party. You don't need to like instantly spam heal them with Living Flame or Spirit Bloom. I mean, you can send a Spirit Bloom if you want to, but if you're planning to also play a bit for DPS, then you can just use Dream Breath reversions to top the party. Here in the intermission high case, you always need to press defensives. Otherwise, let's go back. Otherwise, the statues, when they move out, they will one-shot. That's why I told my party to press defensives. You see, everybody has something active. And even with our defensives active in plus 18, we drop, or like at least I drop to, I don't know, 10%. So that's quite dangerous. I have my stasis ready though. I charged it up earlier. Like when the statue was moving, hitting the group, I was charging up my stasis. And now I can just release the stasis here and we're fine. And then whenever the group would drop, I would just tip the scales of Spirit Bloom here. But we're doing the tech where if a tank stands or like a player stands inside the boss in a certain way, then 3 beams will go on that player only. So in this case, Ace, our tank, is soaking 3 beams here. The damage doesn't get amplified. It's still the damage of 1 beam. He's just soaking 3 at a time. So he's not taking the damage of 3 beams, still only taking damage of 1 beam, but soaking 3 beams at the same time. That makes it quite easy to heal. Here, when you have your tier set buff active from Tip the Scales, you can just basically use your, like, spam Living Flame. It's gonna top the party because it's sending out Living Flames. That's what I'm doing here, not really focusing on healing the party here. But now that it ran out, the best way to heal the party is with Dream Breath, because it's your most efficient spell to press here. And reversions, of course. Here we get the mechanic again. We're trying to live it. I'm pressing my defensive, pressing Zephyr. And look how low we drop. It's for sure, you need to make sure everybody in your party has a defensive running there. And that's why it's important to press, to like track the defensives of your party. If you're playing in a Paki, let's say you're playing a high pulse, I would always make sure before every intermission that you track the defensives of your party. For example, here I would see my DK. He doesn't have a defensive ready. I would see my shaman. He would have his barrier ready. My hunter has something ready. So I'm confident that everybody can survive here. But in your pucks, maybe some people don't have something ready there. Give them TD. You don't need TD on anything else here. Your tank doesn't need TD. Just give that person TD in the intermission. You could even rescue them if you feel confident that you're not gonna like rescue them into a statue or something. Like check their position here, for example. I could rescue Wopen, my DK, since he's standing on top of me. But I wouldn't rescue Azor, since that could be dangerous. If I rescue over there, I might get hit by the statue or something like that. So just use your TD here on a person if you want to be super safe. It's off global anyway, so you're not losing anything. And you could rescue someone, and you can use your Zephyr. And then again, we have the fortunate situation that our tank knows how to soak this boss. I'm still just using Emerald Communion here just to keep it safer. And otherwise, if you're not as lucky as me here, you can just rewind. You can use Emerald Communion. You can always keep your tip the scales for that. Like, you should have your tip the scales ready for basically every intermission. That was interesting. And you can also have your stasis ready for every intermission. The only trick you have to do to get it ready is that you have to charge your stasis and get it on cooldown already at like 90% boss health or something, or like maybe 80. So you already like heal one of these statues. When one of these statues move and do damage, you can already press your stasis in P1 and just charge up a Spirit Bloom, put something else in there that you find useful, maybe a Dream Breath, maybe a TA. And then when the intermission comes, you just release the stasis, and because it has been on cooldown for like around 20 seconds, it's going to be ready for the second intermission as well. So you will be super safe because you have your tip the scales for every intermission, you have your stasis for every intermission, and on top you can rewind or Emerald Communion if you have to. So there you go. This has been the host key. I am going to do the same commentary for more keys if you're interested. And please check out my Twitch, check out my Discord for more guides on the basics. And you can ask any questions you like. Have a good day. See you. And bye-bye.